Very good. Again, want to thank everyone who's in attendance today and all those who may have traveled to be here. First item on the agenda, we'd like to invite Rose Barnes to the mic, if she would please present the Employee of the Month.
Commissioners, I have the pleasure this month of nominating, who has been nominated, is Don Johnston. He is our safety director. Animal Shelter nominated him, but I'd just like to take a couple minutes and talk about Don. He's been with the county for how many years now, Don? 16 years. But he's been in the role as safety director. This is his second full year of being, and he's done an amazing job with safety. You know, safety is not to be taken lightly, and it's a hard job, and it's hard to buy in. And he's really done well with our employees, getting them to understand the importance of it, and they're not afraid of seeing Don anymore. They don't like when he does investigations, but he really puts his heart and soul into the position, and I personally would like to thank him for all he does for the county. So a lot of that goes unnoticed, and you know, behind the scenes kinds of works that he's doing every day and each and every day. And thank you, Don. Come on
up. Well,
I'd like to add just a couple things. You know, in sports, on different sports teams, you have those utility players that, you know, they can play outfield or infield, or they can catch or pitch. Don is kind of one of those utility players for the county. He when he needs to, he pitches in as a mechanic for the road shop. He also helps in the winter time. He supervises the plowing of all of our county facilities. He helps set out barricades and traffic control when we do chipping projects. So not just with the safety, but he is kind of that utility player that helps out where he needs to, and we appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you, Don.
thank you.
Thanks. Thanks, Rose.
The next item on the agenda, we have two sets of minutes. Commissioners, we have minutes first from October 3rd, from our commission meeting that day. Lori always does such a great job at getting these minutes prepared in near perfection. Commissioners, did you have any questions or concerns about that set of minutes?
I saw no changes.
I didn't either.
I'll accept a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. The next set from November 7th. Again, another commission meeting.
Again, no changes on this one for me.
I didn't either.
Commissioners, just one note on those. We need to make sure that we have drafts of the resolution that's mentioned in there, and the notice of the public meeting. Those drafts need to be attached as part of the
Attached in the
final
minutes.
the minutes once they're signed. And I can get those to Lori if she doesn't have them, but just those ought to be on there as part of the exhibits. So.
Perfect. Motion to approve with the exhibits.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Lori. Number 3, we have the approval of the 2019 regular commission meeting schedule, which will be Ordinance 508. Commissioners, with those dates, do you see any concerns, any that are around holidays, any reason to change?
No, I believe Jeannie did a good job looking at most of those dates. I think they'll work.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 508 concerning the dates for meetings on the commissioners' meetings.
We have a motion to approve Ordinance
Second.
508 and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 4 on the agenda, we have consideration and possible approval of a member to the Schofield Reservoir Special Service District Control Board to fill a board vacancy. Commissioners, this board, we have one applicant.
So, from my understanding, Christian, this came in after, but we didn't receive enough applicants anyway, so we can
Correct.
just appoint him to the board.
Yes, and the applicant is actually currently serving on the board anyway already right now. And when he saw that there were no applicants, he requested that he be reappointed again.
I'll
We
make
do have a limited pool of applicants, so I think we need to take who we can get on this one.
Perfect. Can we just appoint him to like the weed board as well while we're at it? Because we had a limited number there as well.
That's true.
I'll make a motion to approve Val Johnson for the Schofield Schofield Special Service District Control Board.
We have a motion to approve Al Johnson for the Schofield Reservoir Special Service District Control Board.
I'll second that.
Motion made and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item number 5 on the agenda. Revoke November 20th, 2018 appointments to Sheriff Merit System Commission due to only one commission member position being available. Appoint one member to Sheriff Merit System Commission. During the November 20th meeting, we, in error, appointed 2 individuals to this board when in reality there was only 1 vacancy. So we have to redo that. Commissioners, we have the 2 applicants. We have Ann Anderson and Jason Marshall. And just the 2 applicants, I believe.
Those were the 2 that we previously appointed and had brought that back for further discussion.
Commissioners, whoever you do decide to appoint, I would recommend you make, part of your motion should be to formally revoke your previous appointment and then to appoint a new, just one person.
Do you want us to do that in 2 motions?
I think
or-
you can make it all one motion,
Together.
but
Okay.
just make sure it revokes the previous appointments.
I'll make a motion to revoke the November 20th, 2018 appointments and appoint Jason Marshall to the Sheriff Merit Board.
I'll second that.
We have a motion for the revocation of the November 20th vote and a motion to, well, and the motion continues to appoint Jason Marshall. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes?
I received a request from one of the persons whose item is on the agenda today to move that up due to his coming down from, having to come down from Salt Lake. That was for items 10 and 11, and I wonder if we could call those out of order?
We could. I just don't see that person here.
Oh, okay.
yet. So.
As long as you're monitoring that.
Yes.
that's- Okay.
I think we're going speedily enough through that we may
Sure.
not need to, but I appreciate you bringing that up.
Thank you.
Item number 6 on the agenda, we have consideration and possible approval of a contract with EFG Consulting to secure bond financing on behalf of Carbon County for Hills Subdivision Special Assessment Area. So commissioners, here we have a series of correspondence and some information. Maybe Christian, could you provide us a higher level detail of this agenda item?
Well, Commissioners, as you know, the county approved the Hill Subdivision Special Assessment Area for the specific purpose of improving the Hill Subdivision Road. And in order to finance that, the county needs to acquire a bond. In order to acquire a bond, it's been recommended that we use a consulting service to get us the lowest and best possible rate for a bond, and Mr. Dieter is willing to provide that service. His fee is 0.5% of the total bond amount, and so we're trusting that he can structure that bond for us and hoping he can get that for us at as good of a rate as possible and help us get it done quickly. As part of what he also does is facilitates those documents getting to us and approved in a quick manner. So he's also been recommended by bond counsel as being competent and able to do this, and it's kind of a specialized service, but I would recommend we do that so that we can quickly procure that bond and be able to pay any amounts that may be coming in soon on the work that's been done on the Hill Subdivision.
Commissioners,
you.
just as another pointer, the work that Cody has done in other areas of the county has been acceptable in a lot of the financial advising that he's done in other groups within the county, but also the fact that we probably should remind the public that this bond that would be issued would be repaid totally by the landowners, by the property owners along the way.
That is
It just facilitates that road being upgraded.
Yes.
Now, Commissioner Potter, doesn't Cody also provide some services to the 7-county coalition?
He does.
And I know that he's presented to the League of Cities and Towns as well as to UAC in a prior conference. So,
Be very qualified. I'd make a motion to go ahead and approve the contract with Cody Dieter to provide the services in securing a bond.
I'll
We-
second that.
we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any further discussion? Seeing none. Item number 7 on the agenda. Consideration and approval of a lease and operating agreement with USU for a flight school at the Carbon County Airport. And we have with us today Dr. Gary Stracquadine and an entourage. As we discuss this, do you mind coming to the mic and introducing your entourage and maybe just giving us a good overlay of this item and the exciting news that it's bringing to our community?
I hope it'll be exciting. I'm Gary Stracquadine. I currently serve as the interim chancellor for Utah State University, Eastern Campus, your local university, and we are expanding our career tech ed programs. I brought with me Dr. Jamie Cano. He's one of my associate department chairs and a professor of ag systems, and with him is Tyler Warren Agner. He runs my Pathways, Perkins funding programs, and whatever else I can assign Tyler to. So. I brought him as my posse, my backup. Part of what we're trying to do, commissioners, is to enter into agreement with the county so that we can use the wonderful airport facilities better for the county and better for the community, and expanding our flight program as well as our airframe power plant mechanics type program. Think of it that way. We're seeking to enter into an agreement, a long-term agreement, hopefully, that will allow us to use facilities and the runway and the airspace around that allow us to train commercial pilots as well as the mechanics for the airplanes themselves. We hope to be starting this as early as September 2019. We have in place all the curriculum. We have in place the instructors ready to come. We've been marketing the program. We have some students of interest, and we would like to bring them here, but we want to make sure that we're all lined up for everything. The program itself would be in our career technical ed area. It would be within the applied Associates of Science degree area. That is a stackable credential that leads to other degree areas, whether that is in a bachelor's degree in flight or even a master's degree in flight. Those programs right now are limited to the Logan campus. We're going to be offering the associate degree, the 2-year program, that results in the commercial pilot license as well as hopefully the mechanic airframe power plant type programs. We look to have some classroom space, yes. We look to have free parking. We look to have some agreements with the current provider of your airspace and your airport facility itself. So I'm not sure if you have other questions or comments for me. We've been talking for a long time about this, and we're coming here for one reason and one reason only. It's the beautiful blue skies of Carbon and Emery County that we will enjoy. The airspace up in Logan is too congested, and it's also gray and cloudy, and the temperatures are bad.
Yeah.
We like being down here in central Utah. We think extending this program from the Logan campus to this will bring benefit to our campus and our community. Don't ask me for all the economic indicators yet. I'm still trying to spin the data. So, any other questions? So.
No.
I just want to thank you, Gary, for bringing this opportunity to our community. And I know that it wasn't solely you, but you've been a very critical player in the mix. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very, very much look forward to working with you.
This is exciting. Thank you.
We'll take you on a test flight
Yes.
with an experienced pilot.
There you go. Okay, thanks.
Uh-oh.
Thank you.
So on the test flight, you're not going to let me test it out? No. So commissioners and Christian, as far as the lease agreements goes, the language therein, are there any concerns, questions?
So, commissioners, just so you know, this is really a first draft of this. This has not been presented to the college yet. The purpose of this is primarily to have you understand that the basis of it is that the county's going to, as part of this, would remodel some space in the terminal on the second floor to allow for a couple of classrooms, 2 offices, and a flight simulator to be set up. And so the county would undertake to do that. The college would then would then lease that space in the terminal building, as well as leasing a hangar from the county or some hangar space. and would operate that school. So really what you have before you more is a concept that I think is, with some specifics that I think we can forward to the college to have them start to look at. But primarily wanted to get your approval of the concept formally of entering into this agreement with the college, and allow me to forward a lease agreement to the college that we can then hammer out and finalize.
I know that there were some corrections that both Commissioner Hopes and I had. I don't know if you want to lead out with yours, Commissioner Hopes, and you know, just some wording as far as that goes, but also to express that there is an urgency to get this wrapped up and any changes in the minimum standards that need to be made, because I believe February is our deadline that we have to have that agreement in place 6 months prior to the start of the program because of the FAA regulations. So we want to quickly move forward with this process.
Are your corrections not in the current copy that we have?
No, we just reviewed that before the meeting, so.
Okay. Commissioner Holst?
So on page 1, the now therefore Carbon County and USU, the do is a DOE instead of a DO. It's just more of a grammar one.
Yeah.
Page 2, we don't know how many students. We don't have that number in there. Maybe that'll come later in the column there. The no interference, we're on our authorized use paragraph. The third line down, it says interferences with any operation at, it should be the airport or such interferences. Did you see that one?
I see it, yep.
Okay. Page, what are we on? Page 3. The signage and advertising, USU shall not install.
Okay.
The shall needs to be added there. And then on page 4, the no assignment paragraph, USU shall have no right to assign the whole or any part of this. It says his agreement instead of this agreement.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
So that needs to be changed. And then I had a question on that last sentence on that same paragraph. It says, in addition, Carbon County must give prior written approval to any change of any aircraft ownership or any change of aircraft stored by in USU's hangar unit. I think those are to be switched around. USU needs to be the one with the airplanes, and we're the ones
sure.
with the hangar.
Right, good catch.
And then I think on the very last page, item number 11, the FBO, the landlord and the FBO, not the FB. Those were the changes that I had.
Okay.
That covers the ones that I had.
All right, so just mostly grammatical, nothing significant or
No.
material in nature. I think that really doesn't detract from us being able to pass this motion today.
No, and it really is good to move it forward for further negotiations and changes. Obviously, the university will need to look at it, and including the whether it's the 141 wording that we need in the minimum standards, or if what we have there for our other operations, takes care of it. But we want to quickly make sure that that happens.
Okay. Well, Commissioners, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, to approve the lease and operating agreement with the changes and let that enter into negotiation with the university.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And again, thank you for the university being present oftentimes here at our meetings and for bringing this wonderful opportunity to our community. Truly, we are becoming more and more a university town. So appreciate your efforts on that behalf.
Thank you.
Item number 8 on the agenda. We have some people here to speak to us about this. Lenise, would you like to come to the mic? And Tina, if you're going to help out with this. We have a presentation of a recommendation regarding the recent request for information for consulting services, specifically for marketing and branding for the county. And we have
I'm not Tina.
Angelo Katifas, Gopher Katifas, and Lenise Peterman.
Yes, sir.
Peterman. Yes.
Thank you for allowing us to present. A month or two ago, the commission actually put forth an RFI for recommendations for a consultant for both economic development as well as marketing and branding services. And you should have received in your packet for today's meeting the recommendation that the committee has put forth. What occurred is the Economic Community Development Committee created a subcommittee to review all of the proposals, to organize our questions and perform interviews, and to come together and create a proposal for your consideration. And that's what's occurred, and I think it's a smart move. I think we've done our due diligence, and we received a great opportunity from the Utah Office of Tourism to make use of serious funding as a pilot project where they will carry the burden of 2/3 of that funding and only ask for a match of 1/3. So I think that's a great opportunity for us. As we put forth in our proposal, no one entity seemed to present with the skill set that we wanted to see, in which they could do both economic development as well as marketing and branding. And it's just the way the proposals fell out. They either seem to be experts at one or the other, but no one party presented with both. So.
Angelo, do you have any comments?
Oh, not at all. We did spend quite a bit of time interviewing these applicants. I think we were fortunate to get the deal we got. $25,000 for a $100,000 package is hard to do.
Yeah, just the one correction, it's 3/4 of the payment
That's correct.
Yeah,
3/4, sorry.
instead of
that's okay.
the 2/3, which is a better deal for all involved, so.
Absolutely. And the nice thing is they're willing to meet all of the communities where they are in the process. And we think that's really important because it can be really tailored to create our communities and allow them to shine with their individual assets. So East Carbon, Wellington, all of these cities will have an opportunity to put together something that works for them and allows them to brand themselves in a way that works and helps the whole county. So we're super excited about it.
As far as expectations that the community might have, you know, with this multiple of the 25 and we're getting 100 and everything, what expectations can the community have, you know, a year from now because of this effort, or 2 years from now?
What I would expect to see is that based on where the different communities are, some will probably begin at the start, like we'll start with Wellington. They actually need to have some community gathering and some idea of who they are and how they want to move themselves forward in the future. So they need to kind of create that brand and identity, whereas Helper, on the other hand, has had that opportunity with the SSTAT funding. So we're kind of in a position where we can move at a different pace than a Wellington can. And my understanding is the way the Office of Tourism has set this up, they will meet you where you are. So if Price is at a place where we know our assets, we know how we want to brand, let's talk about how we do this, they can pick the ball up from that point. Whereas Wellington probably needs to start at the beginning and say, who are we? What do we want to be? How do we embrace our future and define it? And they can start with them at that point. So I think in a year what you will see is a unified branding message coming from Carbon and Emery counties to create a destination, to create a brand that all of these entities can use as we move forward into the future, and people can begin to know us as such by what we want to be known by.
And a well thought out marketing plan.
Why don't we have Tina come up and talk a little bit about what the Office of Tourism is offering. I know you don't like to be in front of the mic, but just not in front of the mic, right? So in answer to that question, because there are some very specific things that are outlined as far as what the Office of Tourism is offering, and in this initial pilot program, what an opportunity it is for Carbon and Emery counties.
Right. It's a great opportunity for us, and it really stems from the community assessments that we had done with Roger Brooks and working with the destination development team with the state. So after that process, Rachel Bremer came to me and said, hey, I have this idea for Carbon County. Don't say anything to anybody yet, because I don't know if it's going to happen, but I'm really pushing for a pilot program. But that means I'll need to hire a staff member, and we need to get our budget in line so that we can be able to do that. And so her and Vicki Varela and the other team members of Utah Office of Tourism seen the need for us to continue our efforts from the assessment with branding and marketing and product development and implementation. And so they came together and decided that Carbon and Emery County could both really benefit from the program. And so those are the two places that they picked as the pilot. And so they were kind of put into the process with the other applicants, and so we went through that process. But I think in a year you'll see that, like Lenny said, we'll have a master plan in place. The Coraggio group is going to help us create that master plan, and Hub LLC will help with the marketing and branding and being able to push that all out. So I think a year from now you're going to see us in a very different place than where we are today, so which is very great. And to have the opportunity to be a pilot when normally this would be a 50-50 match with the state, because we are a pilot program. There's only a quarter of that we need to pay. So it's a great opportunity. So once those pilots are completed and they roll it out to the rest of the state, everybody else will have to pay 50%. So I feel very blessed to have the opportunity. So
thank you, thank you,
yeah.
Tina.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate all of you guys.
Thank you.
And just so that the community is aware, Mayor Lenny's Peterman and Angelo Kativas are members of the community serving as volunteers on this economic council, helping with this specific project and helping Tina representing the county. So this is a community effort, and we're going to stretch those dollars as far as we can. So thanks again for your efforts.
Thank you.
Commissioners, in light of all of that, after this presentation, that now leads us to number 9 on the agenda, which is consideration and possible approval of recommendation from the Community Economic Council and their proposal to basically for the economic development marketing consultant. And so do we need any further discussion from what we just had on that?
Yes.
Commissioners,
Go ahead.
the only thing I wanted to point out is there's a three parts to the proposal, and one of those, they don't quite have all the contracts in place with UOT. So currently we're 65,000 and 16,250 is the county's match until that other and I'm not sure the other firm that would come in and help us do the product development. So until that happens, currently we'll have to amend it to include them, but currently it is just the two that were mentioned, Hub and Coraggio.
So with Hub and Coraggio, is that enough for us to pass this motion today, or?
Absolutely.
It is, and it's a preliminary to be added to as the rest of this stuff comes forward from the State Office of Tourism.
All right then. Well, I appreciate that clarification and letting us know that there's more to come with this item. I'll entertain a motion for what we have today.
I'll make a motion to approve the recommendation of the Economic Council to have the product development and marketing consultants through the Office of Tourism.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the marketing consultants through the Office of Tourism. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you again for everyone and all your efforts towards that. We're moving forward with that item and looking forward to working with the state and with these marketing consultants. Item number 10 on the agenda. This is an interesting item. This is a comment letter, and it's consideration and possible approval of comments to the U.S. Treasury over IRS Code 1400Z-2 pertaining to Opportunity Zone funds. And I'll speak a little bit to this item. Particularly in this letter, there's a lot of stuff that speaks directly to the language inside of the Opportunity Zones code. Out of the 95 pages or so of the code, specifically 3 pages of it talk about the type of gain income that investors can defer taxes on in order to bolster low-income communities. And what we would like to do in this letter during the comment period is request that the IRS allow not only for the mixed funding, allowing the gain income and the non-gain income, but that they also provide some benefit towards the non-gain income. Right now, to try and make it a little easier to understand, there are economic incentives. There's a step up in basis, a 10-year deferral, and just some nice monetary benefits for people who have sold real property or have some type of gain. To take that gain, instead of writing a check to the IRS, they can put that money into communities like ours that have an opportunity zone, as long as they pass through a fund, a qualified opportunity fund. They do allow for a mixed use of funds, meaning you can have your formula for funding, but what if amongst the investors you have in your business, you're only able to fund 90% of the project? So they allow that remainder to be an injection of capital that is non-capital gain and has no benefits to it. So the meat and potatoes of the letter, this 3-page letter that we'd like to submit, is to request that there be some benefits to that other portion that is non-gain income, so that a project doesn't have to die in the water because it is mostly funded and we're not able to get investors to help with projects that would otherwise benefit our small community. And with us today, we do have an attorney, Wayne. Wayne, would you please come to the mic and maybe clarify some of my points, as I am not an attorney, and the language here provided by Greg Morris with Revolution Fuels and with some of your own input is perhaps not layman's terms by any means, and maybe you can clarify how I explain the matter.
All right, well, first of all, thank you for having me down. I'm Wayne Bennett with the law firm of Clyde Snow and Sessions. I did see that letter a couple weeks ago. I apologize, I didn't.
You're
you
okay.
surprised me with it this afternoon.
I figured since you were gracing us tonight that I might pick on you for more than one item.
Go for it. As far as the qualified investment opportunity zones go and the funds that surround it, as you may be aware, as recently as literally the very end of October, the IRS finally issued some regulations on how these things should be operated and run. That despite the fact the law's been now on the book, it'll be a year in 2 weeks. So there's a lot of talk right now on what these funds are going to do and where are these qualified opportunity zones and where they're going with them. It's a novel idea, a great way to encourage investment back into the community. I like your idea here where you're right. There's only the primary benefit here is to help people with long-term capital gains to be able to roll those over and defer the income, like you've said, to 2026. And then if you hold it for 10 years, you get a full step up in basis on what's left. It encourages good long-term investment. There are not a lot of incentives right now for new money, just straight up cash going into a program or a fund. There will be some deferment and stuff, but I agree with you. If there could be more encouragement or more incentives, it would increase the encouragement. It would encourage people to invest more money into the system. There's a lot of activity out there if you're on the blogs and stuff dealing with tax law in these zones and these funds. Some of the big banks are scrambling to put funds together. Some of the smaller financial groups up in Salt Lake, I know of, for example, are putting funds together that are trying to focus on, perhaps different areas in Utah. If you can be persuaded to come all the way down to Price from the Wasatch Front, I think that would be great as well. Just spread the money out across Utah and try and bring the whole state up, not just certain little pockets. So where I see it happening the most is people are going to be looking at some kind of a development. Maybe it's housing for example, which we're seeing a big shortage of in Utah, finding an area that is depleted to some degree and trying to work out whether that would be a good location for that kind of a project, identifying it in the zone, and then finding the long-term capital gains to put into it to make it grow. So.
Well, I appreciate those comments, Wayne.
No,
The only other thing that I would add is that if they were to allow other just cash or other types of money to be benefited by this same code or the same section, then we would have individuals who are not the ultra high net worth. We'd have more individuals coming to the table and participating and helping bolster communities like ours. So it would just make the capital a lot easier.
And from my practice perspective, I'm hoping that there are local financial groups that are putting together local funds so that the small guy can invest in them. And from what I've heard, reaching out to people, there are a few that are developing. Their minimum investments are like $200,000, and so I'm sure they're starting with the low-hanging fruit, trying to get the wealthiest they can in. But as it catches on, I would hope and expect that those minimum investments will come down, and maybe someone as low as $50,000 or $25,000 might be able to invest into one of these funds if it suits them.
Yes. Well, in regards to this letter, commissioners, did you have any other questions or concerns about sending this letter to the U.S. Treasury?
Are we in a comment period, Commissioner, or is it
Yes.
just a straightforward letter?
It's during their 60-day comment period, and so that's actually wrapping up here in the next week or so.
I think this is a great idea. I appreciate you putting it together. I think it does help them expand maybe their thoughts about who can invest. So, do you have any other questions or comments, commissioners?
I'll just say from a tax practitioner perspective in my private practice that something like this and an effort legislatively to at least ask the IRS and provide them with input during this period, it's important to our constituents, and it shows that we're really looking out for their welfare, and it definitely would attract it would incentivize a lot more people to participate in growing our community. So that's why we have it before us today.
I'll make a motion to approve the comments to be sent to the U.S. Treasury over IRS code 1400Z-2.
Second that.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. And Wayne, appreciate you sticking around for the next item. This is the item that you're actually here to address. We have reviewed with several local businesses, and we have a representative of one of those businesses here with us today. And we have gone through a very thorough process, engaging over half a dozen different law firms to try and understand what the proper interaction between the county and these businesses that may want to open up a qualified fund in our qualified zone, and what the coordination should look like and what it should be. And after looking and reviewing input from 6 or so different firms, these local businesses and myself, we were able to narrow it down to Clyde Snow and Sessions as a firm that we could enter into an initial MOU. Not that it would be exclusive by any means, but would you please kind of talk to us about this MOU and help the general public understand what it all means?
Great. Well, I appreciate you again also having me down here for this topic as well. The idea behind the MOU is to hopefully, in a loose sense, put together almost a joint venture where we are here to help, maybe as preferred law firm, people who are interested in forming a fund to invest in Carbon County, and helping them with the legal work on the front end, putting the fund together. In certain situations, we're sure that would also include perhaps getting investors involved. So there's perhaps a sale of a security there, perhaps not, depending on the fund. And then filing the correct elections with the IRS and working with the county to see the project to fulfillment. The idea would have to be, in our opinion, the ideal situation would be where the fund would come to the firm, or the fund advisors or the originators would come to the firm as clients of the firm, and we would represent them in all aspects of this process moving forward, wherever they need the help, whether it be in the development stage or entitlements if necessary, working before you folks again, or the cities, to get the approvals necessary to make a project a reality. I don't think that we would be in a situation where we would be out and out representing the county. You have attorneys to be doing that on your own. It would be more focused on the investors, or the group that's putting the fund together. We would be there. We've put some pricing in there that we've talked a little bit with you about, Jake. That might be an incentive for them. A lot of times in a very simple fund, with just a family or an individual coming to the county wanting to do a project, the fee of $2,000 that we put in there should handle it. Shouldn't be a big deal, and it probably won't even get to it. If we've got a bigger fund coming in with lots of investors and people involved in putting together a bigger project with lots of sources of money, then we're running into securities issues, and the operating agreements and such will be a lot bigger, and that money won't go as far. But that's kind of the idea. I don't know what questions you might have for me.
I like, Commissioners, the changes that Christian had recommended, and I know he sent those to you, and I believe that in the revised agreement that was already taken care of, particularly in sections 5 and 6 of that. And so the mechanics of that, how that would work, I believe are a lot better than perhaps the original MOU. I don't know that you disagreed, because you seem to have made those changes with that. Do you want to go into that at all, Christian?
I just mentioned that, it provides that the county would assist in the payment of attorney fees for those firms that might come in, and
as an economic incentive for those businesses considering our community, will pay up to $2,000
right
directly to the legal firm.
To the law firm, right, as part of the services provided to the county generally, and the establishment of the fund generally. I think that's fine. I recommend
as long as those groups are approved by the commission from your law firm.
Certainly, and the changes that Christian suggested today when we were talking, they weren't really changes for me. That was what we understood the deal would be, so those were easy to make.
Right.
Certainly, just like the county needs to vet the investing group coming in, we will too. They'll have to pass our conflicts check primarily. But yeah, I thought everything that Christian suggested, I think is just line for line put in there. And then he picked up a typo too, and I always appreciate when other attorneys point out my typos.
Me too, sort of.
The other issue, has that already been addressed with the other possible conflict?
Yes, I've raised that with the firm, and I think it's up to them to decide whether it's a conflict. I don't see that it's a legal conflict that requires them to have to not represent us or have any formal recusal from our part unless they decide that's necessary. So.
Okay.
And again, primarily their representation is towards the investor groups or the people doing the project.
And I spoke with the lead attorney on that other matter, the Sanpete County matter.
Right.
And initially he cringed, to be honest, and then explained to him that really the focus needs to be that we're going to be representing the investment group. We are not representing the county in these matters. And once he got that clear, he didn't think it would be an issue.
Okay.
It's not something we're going to run around waving the flag on, but it's not going to be an issue going forward.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that everybody was aware of that, so.
Yeah,
I think
No,
it's,
thank you.
it's as much a matter, if you're comfortable, and I'm comfortable with it, I don't see there being any concern there. So if the county's comfortable with it, I think it's then up to the firm to decide, and it sounds like they don't see any problem, given they'll just be representing the companies anyway formally.
Well, good.
Perfect.
Now, just for the community and for further discussion, I've invited Mike McCandless, if he would, who represents a business or two that is coming into the area and will likely participate in one way or another with a qualified fund and in the opportunity zone. If from the business perspective, you could maybe just tell the community a little bit about how meaningful it is, or how, what impact these funds would have on their community and on the business.
Sure. Mike McCandless. I represent Wellington Microtech and 670. We actually have two properties that are actually located on Ridge Road inside of the Opportunity Zone. One of those properties is a project that we're actually just finishing the last phase of engineering for us to go ahead and towards construction next year. The second, we're in early planning phases on some projects that could come. We believe that the Opportunity Fund works as a really nice way to kind of help prime the pump. There is certainly no shortage of ways to spend money when you're developing these projects. And so any and all assistance that we can receive to help kind of get these off the floor and to attract capital, because that's really the intent of Opportunity Zones, is to actually help us to attract capital. One of the reasons why the project that we're currently just about to break ground on, is later than we'd hoped is the challenges associated with raising capital. Sometimes it's actually easier to raise the large block of money than it is kind of those last little pieces of capital, and that turned out to be the case for us. We've secured our capital for our project, and Opportunity Zones may or may not be of a benefit for us for this first project, but for the second project and the remainder of the property that we have inside the Opportunity Zone, the incentive that you're discussing, I think could be a really nice catalyst. And I will just comment that I think there's another tool that if you package them together, and a creation of a community redevelopment area that matched your Opportunity Zone really might be the secret sauce that could really make this an exciting economic development opportunity. If you had a true package where you have this as an incentive to get projects very closely defined, and then provide a package of financial tools, including what used to be called EDAs, but now a CRA, where businesses have the opportunity to work with the entities, the taxing entities, to really provide the very best benefit. That's when I think this really gets to be an exciting tool, where you actually have something you can market to businesses and really help them do something unique. I mean, I can tell you from our perspective, we've had a lot of discussions there. We sit right on a boundary in between a couple of existing EDAs, some of which have been expiring. It's been really hard to kind of track that, but if your Opportunity Zone and your CRA matched the same boundaries, and those were all being marketed together to businesses that own property within the Opportunity Zone and to investors, I think that's where the opportunity for the county to really take advantage of this really lies.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
You bet. Thank you.
Did you have any questions for Wayne or?
No, I think it's a great incentive. I think what they're offering, once again, we have internal counsel, but once again, they have a specialty that's outside of this, and so having someone that's actually dealing specific with this. I mean, one of the challenges Utah has is that we're a little bit behind the curve of some other states.
Yeah.
And that means we're competing now late with other states on getting some of this investment capital. The state of Utah has issued an RFP for $200,000 to help the state get a consultant to help communities like Carbon County get some assistance in this. I don't expect that process to even be completed before the end of the year. So I think this is a way to get Carbon County really ahead of the rest of the state, because once it all hits, everybody's going to be chasing the same groups of investors.
Yep.
Thank you, Mike.
Appreciate those comments. Commissioners, were there further questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the MOU with the changes discussed with Clyde and Snow in regards to the Opportunity Zone.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second in regards to the QOFs, or Qualified Opportunity Zone Funds, and the MOU with Clyde, Snow, and Sessions. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Commissioners. Thank you, Wayne Bennett, for traveling down here just for our short meeting. Appreciate that.
But your timing was impeccable. You showed up right at the time that we started that portion of it.
That line item was perfect.
You have no idea what it took to get here.
Item number 12 on the agenda, consideration and possible approval of Resolution 2018-18 to approve the 2019 budget.
Commissioners, the only thing that I noticed was that on the resolution, and I don't know that it matters because the overall commission meeting commenced at 4:30, but the budget hearing and meeting didn't start till 6.
That's a good point. I think we ought to change that.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing Lori asked is if we could squeeze that all onto one page. So, let me see if I can do that tomorrow morning.
Perfect. So with that,
With that formatting change.
with that change and the formatting change, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2018-18.
And so we would approve this resolution, and then we would attach the entire 2019 budget to that as the resolution.
That's right. So the exact same budget was online and available to you for you to look at
As Exhibit A.
as exhibit A.
Right. And as was presented in the public hearing.
Correct.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And I will, if there's no further business, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you for all those who traveled. And as a special message with the weather, drive safe and buckle up.